Hey VC, David Newton here at Unsightly Vinyl, here to do a response to the Vinyl Douche tag. Sam The Vinyl Douche has compiled a list of 20 questions that he borrowed from the 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 tag lists. And without further ado, let's jump in. So the first question is, what was the first video you ever saw in a VC? The first video I ever saw in the VC was from Beth B-Side Records. Beth and I met in the horror community. We both subscribed to a channel called Dumb Drums, and Lee, the host of the channel, was talking about The Crow being his favorite movie, and I just kind of mentioned that The Crow was being released on Record Store Day that year. Beth reached out to me and said, hey, if you are into collecting vinyl, I'm a member of the vinyl community, come check out my channel. And so I went to her channel, and the first video I saw on her channel was one that she had posted in October of 2018, and it was her spinning the soundtrack to Halloween 3. So that was my first video. From there, I can recall subscribing shortly afterwards to Bill with the Vinyl Verse, Randall Weaver, Rob Walker. Those were some of the earliest channels that I was subscribed to. Question 2, shout outs to channels that you feel deserve more views. Cristian Osorio is one that I feel like deserves more subscribers. Cristian has been around as long as I have. I joined the VC in March of 2019. Cristian is one that always takes part in our contests, the vinyl threads and tags. He just, as far as I know, I think he still has less than 100 subscribers. He's based out of Colombia. He's big into metal. He likes Iron Maiden a lot. Cristian has been very loyal to all of us, and I feel like he just deserves way more subscribers than he has. Another channel I want to give a shout out to is Shannon D. I am new to her channel. She's been doing some great series on Tori Amos and Joni Mitchell. She goes through each album and just kind of talks about the tracks and breaks them down and gives a little bit of history about each album. One of the first videos I saw from Shannon was her ranking of the Tom Petty catalog, and I've been subscribed to her ever since and have really been enjoying what she's been posting. So I'll post a link down below to both Cristian and Shannon. Go check them out. What are some of your other hobbies? Well, as I mentioned before, I am into horror, and I collect horror figures, toys, whatever you want to call them. In addition to horror, I mean, I do collect other pop culture memorabilia. I collect Funko Pops. I went ahead and grabbed a few of them. Here's Scott Howard from Teen Wolf. James Bond. And Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. I've always enjoyed collecting things. Even as a kid, I used to collect Garbage Pail Kid cards. Remember those? I also collected the Batman trading cards that came out when the 1989 movie Batman with Michael Keaton came out. I can remember collecting the little California raisin figures that used to be available at Hobbies. So I've just always enjoyed collecting little knickknacks, I guess. Question 4 is, why did you start to collect vinyl? Um, my good friend Matt, who I've talked about in some of my other videos, is why I started collecting vinyl. He lives near Atlanta, and I went to visit him back in, I think it was 2009 or 10, and he had started collecting vinyl, and he was trying to get me into the hobby, and I'm just like, why do I need to collect vinyl? I mean, anything I want to listen to, I can listen to digitally, and I just never thought more about it. It's when I moved into my house in 2015, and I had my own space, man cave, music room, whatever you want to call it, that I decided, I'll give vinyl a chance. I've got the space now, I can start collecting, and the rest is history. So, question 5, do you play an instrument, or have you ever been in a band? Yes, I play piano and guitar. I'm self-taught. I was in a band briefly between 2016 and 2017. We were a cover band. We played everything from Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, The Doors, to Billy Idol, the Black Keys, Def Leppard. I played rhythm guitar and some lead guitar. I sang lead vocals, and there were a few songs that I played the harmonica on. So, like most bands, we just kind of had a falling apart. There were some disagreements between some of the band members, and we just kind of went our separate ways. Question 6. Have you ever worked in a record store? No. I did, however, work at Best Buy when I was in college. I worked in the media department, which was CDs and movies. So that's probably as close as I will ever come to working in a record store. All right, on to the vinyl. What is the last album that you purchased? Tori Amos, Little Earthquakes, and that is thanks in part to Shannon. Shannon, again, has been doing a great series on Tori Amos and Joni Mitchell. I've enjoyed her videos. It was Shannon's video for Under the Pink that really made me realize that I don't have any Tori Amos in my collection, on vinyl anyways. I have her stuff on CD. I've got this, I've got songs from the Choir Girl Hotel, was it Scarlet's Walk? I don't recall what it was, but I've always been a fan of Tori Amos. I just didn't have anything on vinyl, so I now have this and Under the Pink. So thank you, Shannon. A great album with a bad cover. I'm gonna go with Smashing Pumpkins, and this is their album Pisces Iscariot. I don't know what this is supposed to represent. I mean, it's not a terrible cover, but I just don't get what's going on here. Great album, though. An album that you wish you had an OG copy of. I don't have one to show. I'm not one that gets hung up on having an OG copy versus a repress. As long as the album sounds good, I'm happy with whatever. I mean, it could be a reissue or repress. If it's OG, hey, bonus. All right, show an album by a female artist. I'm going with Florence and the Machine. This is her album Lungs. Great album. Don't see her talked a lot about in the VC, but great stuff from Florence and the Machine. Show an album that has an earworm song. I'm gonna go with the Arctic Monkeys. This is their eponymous album, and the first track, Do I Want to Know, is one that I consider to be an earworm. Show your best posthumous release. I'm gonna go with Jimi Hendrix, Valleys of Neptune. This kicks off with my favorite song from Jimi Hendrix, Stone Free. Then it goes into the title track, which is a great track, Valleys of Neptune. There's a cover of Sunshine of Your Love on this. There's a version of Fire and Red House on this. Great album from Jimi Hendrix. Show an artist that you impulsively collect. This is a band that I just started collecting this year. It is Pete International Airport. As most of you know, I'm a big fan of BRMC, and I discovered that the bass player Robert Levon Bean appeared on a track on the second album called Flowers of Evil. I picked it up on vinyl and decided to go ahead and get the debut album and the remix album as well. So this is Pete International Airport. It's their first album. Here's their second album, Safer with the Wolves, and this has the track Flowers of Evil that Robert Levon Bean played on. And this is the remix album that came out this year. And so yeah, Pete International Airport. Next is to show an album that you think is underrated. I'm gonna go with Embrace, and this is their album, The Good Will Out. This is their debut album. This came out in 1998. You had albums like OK Computer, Urban Hymns that had come out the year before, and this came out in 98, and it was just a band I'd never heard. I really liked their sound a lot, and I don't see this shown in the BC ever. So Embrace, The Good Will Out. Next is to show your favorite double album. I forgot to pull it, but I'm gonna have to go with the Beatles' White Album. That's just a fantastic double album. I like every track on there. It's you get kind of different genres and different styles of music on that album. It starts off with Back in the USSR, which is kind of a rocker, and then it goes, into songs like Dear Prudence, and then you have like the folky song like Rocky Raccoon, Obla-Dee Obla-Da. It's just a great album, different styles of music. It really showcases the different writing styles of Paul, George, and John. Just a great album from the Beatles. Next is to show a rainy day album. I don't really associate albums with the weather, but just for something to show in this tag, I'm gonna go with Keith Urban. This is his album Golden Hour, and there is a track on this called Raining on Sunday. So this is my rainy day album. Next was to show an album that is sentimental to you. I'm going to show two, and these are two albums that I received very recently from two lovely ladies in the BC, and that is The Fog, and John Carpenter's Anthology. This was sent to me by Beth at B-Sides, and I received this on the very same day from Cindy. Just some great albums. Both Cindy and Beth know that I'm big into horror and John Carpenter, so I was just blown away by their generosity. I'm still in awe. So Beth and Cindy, thank you so much for the VCLT. It was very kind of you and greatly appreciated. Next was to show an album by a band or artist that you've met. I saw Oasis in 2000. They were performing in Indianapolis, and the opening band for them was Travis. I'd never heard of Travis prior to that, and I was standing outside the venue near the tour buses, and Dougie, the bass player, and Andy, the guitar player from Travis, were walking by. They stopped and just kind of talked to the crowd, and it was very cool getting to meet both Andy and Dougie. So this was the album they were touring in support of, so very cool to have met Dougie and Andy from Travis. Next was to show an album that turns 20 this year. This is one of my favorite live albums. I've always been a big fan of the Black Crowes. I really like their kind of 70s sound to them, I guess, their 70s rock sound. And to throw on top of that Jimmy Page, this is a fantastic live album. I'm usually not a fan of live albums, but this is just one that just sounds so good. I mean, to have someone sing Zeppelin songs other than Robert Plant, you can't go wrong with Chris Robinson and Rich Robinson from the Black Crowes. So, and the last question was to show a trilogy of albums. I'm going with a band that I don't see talked about in the BC very much at all, if ever, and that is Coldplay. Coldplay is a band that I really like. They kind of came out kind of on the heels of all the other emo type bands and stuff that were kind of prevalent on the radio at the time. You know, you had bands like Tonic and Creed and just Bare Naked Ladies and all that. So when Coldplay came out, it was a different sound. It was something that I really connected to. And so here's my trilogy. Coldplay's debut album, Parachutes. Their sophomore album, Rush of Blood to the Head. And their third album, XY. I really like Coldplay a lot. Their first three albums were very solid albums. I kind of lost interest with, I think it was Livin' La Vida. You know, there was some good songs on it, but that, the one song, I can't remember what it was called, it just kind of got overplayed, and then they put out Mixo Ilto, whatever it was, and it had some songs on it. It was kind of, there were some solid tracks, but there was a lot of filler. Then they put out Head Full of Ghosts, which I really liked a lot. And then their last two albums, again, I kind of lost track of them, but always been a fan of Coldplay. Chris Martin, I really like his singing. I like his lyrics. Just a solid 4-piece band, and so this is my trilogy. So that's gonna do it for my vinyl douche tag. Sam, thank you for putting this together. This was fun. If you guys aren't familiar with Sam The Vinyl Douche, I'll post a link down below, as well as links to Shannon D and Cristian Osorio, also Beth and Cindy. I hope you all enjoyed this, and until next time, take care. Thanks.